That's an excellent point because
Nor was
that is
Linsky.
right. That is something that I have observed and sort of made a decision about myself in observing a lot of these people, of that era who championed what seemed to be noble causes, and really they just had character disorders. They were angry little punks with a lot of money, and not all of them had a lot of money, but I remember reading about a lot of the people of that era and thinking, I think this guy's just got a character disorder, and he hid behind a noble cause to manifest it.
And one of the symptoms, I think, if you talk to these people, is just how superficial their understanding of their actual issue really is. You'll never get much beyond platitudes. And if you listen to Bill Ayers, the man's an idiot. He has a way of speaking that makes himself sound like he knows what he's talking about, but I've never heard him say anything of substance about anything. I think he's a complete idiot. But now they've hung everything in public education on this notion of social justice. And they're rewarding kids not for academics, but for radicalism under the Ayers model. And we're seeing it with kids that are coming home and ratting out their parents for not using the right kind of light bulbs. I mean, it's happening.
Oh, it's just insane.
And I fault any parent that is not actively engaging with their kids' education if they're not in public school. You better find out what's going on.
Right.
You better look at their textbooks.
Yeah. Well, I know that on Election Day, a lot of people in the movement kept their kids home because they knew it was going to be a very, or was it Inauguration Day? I think, I can't remember now. It was just a short while ago, but like you said, so much happens every day, it's hard to keep track. But at any rate, I think it was Inauguration Day, and many people did keep their kids home, and the ones who did not were quite shaken. I know personally a couple of women who sent the kids to school. The kids did not want to do the Obama dance and sing the Obama prayers, and they got in trouble. They were told that they had to watch the TV. If they looked away, they were punished. Two of the kids came home crying. It was traumatic, and that was the beginning of the end, I think.
I think the day and morning.
Yeah,
but
it really was.
It's very typical of how cult leaders and tyrants operate, and he's got such control of the media. But you can see what's happening to the kids, and again, I encourage parents to start paying some attention. If you saw what was in your kids' textbooks, if you're studying the public schools, you might be very, very surprised.
Yeah, they have continued to edit them, and
particularly the role of Islam versus Christianity, how the two of them are compared. I think you might be a little stunned.
That is something that they even address religion in school.
They work it into history. They work their stuff into everything. They work the radicalism into everything. In fact, Phyllis Shapley talks about going to the I think it was NEA, the Teachers Union conference one year, and it was just countercultural stuff was everywhere. Pro-gay rights, pro-environment, anti-marriage, anti-everything. And they were talking about how you're working your agenda into even a normal academic curriculum by something like in a math class you would use today's Iraq body count as a number.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
It's so bad and so pervasive. And, again, parents have really got to pay attention. Because you have some power as a parent with your local school board.
Right. Although I think that's less and less now, too. From what I understand.
Well, you can go scream at them, and you can sue them, and you can get other parents together. You have some, relative to the power that you have at the state or the national level, that is your local level is a place you can exert some power.
Well, that's true. Especially if you're paying taxes there.
Right.
But, this thing with the UN initiative to kind of erode parental rights and dictate to parents what their children will do and not do.
Well, that's part of the whole Soros plan of the one world government.
Yeah. It's not a good thing. So when you began to examine, when was it, first of all, did you really start to look behind the straw man that we saw up there and come up with some of your professional opinions about his character and his character disorder.
Well, I paid attention to him once I realized that he'd actually defeated the Clinton machine. Mm-hmm. And I think in the beginning I wasn't so interested in his mental health as I was the political machinations that could pull something like that off. I mean, that was a pretty powerful machine, and he managed to grind it at dust.
Yeah.
So it was more political and more agenda-driven in terms of what his platform was going to be before I started trying to figure him out personally. I mean, the shtick was nauseating pretty early on with the Hitler-esque fainting crowds and all that nonsense. But it was a little hard in the beginning to get a beat on the guy because he was so tightly controlled. He wasn't talking to any media that wasn't pre-screened. He was reading off a teleprompter. His audiences were packed. I mean, it wasn't like you were going to get a real clear picture. And his background was so diaphanous. I mean, very few people were going after, other than I think Sean Hannity was probably the front runner on in terms of digging into this guy's past.
Yeah.
And of course, they used the race card very effectively.
Oh, that was right out of the gate.
Racist. And I fault the Republicans for this because they've become such a bunch of little wimps, and they're apologizing for things that other people say, and they're apologizing for things they didn't do. In fact, Jonah Goldberg makes a great point in his book on liberal fascism that true episodes of racism among conservatives are so rare that liberals have to make them up, and yet we apologize for them.
Well, this is the apology tour. This guy goes on ad nauseum, racing over Europe time and again, apologizing for everything for everything, until finally a logistics monster put up a huge article with photographs and descriptions of every graveyard of American servicemen in Europe.
I saw that.
150,000.
Yes, we've never done a darn thing to help Europe.
No, and we need to apologize to Europe. I mean, that.
Well, I think they played along with it for a while because I really think that as long as Bush and Cheney were in charge, they had a hoot and a howl of a good time making fun of the crazy cowboys because they knew they were safe.
Yeah.
They knew at the end of the day when push came to shove that they would be protected by the cowboys, and they knew the cowboys could take it. And it was really fun to play superior, arrogant Europeans with us. It hasn't taken long, I've noticed, for this great Obama love to unravel. His first trip in April was a flop. The media doesn't report it as such, but he got nothing that he went there for.
No.
But the best press to follow, other than Canada Free Press, is the press in the UK, because right after that first tour, they were and they're getting more critical every day that this guy is not somebody they feel that they can count on, they can trust. They're not happy. They're not feeling secure anymore.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Well, it may not be good for America, but it's good in that it is starting to crumble. His bus is starting to come apart.
Well, I think that especially Western Europe had better figure out is you guys are on your own. We can't protect you now, like in the good old days.